Hi, hello everyone. Good evening. And the topic that has been provided to me is very pretty common, and there are I am sure that there are a lot of things that every one of you, most of you, might be aware about. But that is why I have designed this session in a way that we will not only talk about agriculture value chain, but some other value chains which are related or which are part of the agriculture and allied sectors. So hopefully, because there is always a case when people actually try to see most of the agriculture related value chain similar to agriculture to a value chain of agricultural products. So the content is will be like this. Like first, we will be discussing about what the types of value chain that we will be covering in this session. Then common challenges uh, which basically we face across all types of value chains. Then key differences among the value chains that we will be discussing about. Then cost drivers in a value chain, important value chain players, intermediaries. Everyone talks about intermediary, but I really feel that intermediary play an extremely important role. And then we will come to aggregation and grading. And then on the basis of my experience, we will be discussing. So I will be spending much time on this slide because we will be discussing different value chains of multiple commodities in the last sections. So in this particular session, we will be covering agriculture value chain, horticulture, dairy, and non-timber forest produce. Now, basically in agriculture, we will be agriculture is simply we talk about food grains, pulses, and oil seeds. In horticulture, we will be talking about fruits and vegetable. Dairy, everyone knows. I will be only covering the milk part because dairy value chains, there after processing there are a lot of other products that are involved. But I will be only covering the basic dairy value chain attributes in this session, and then non-timber forest produce. So, as most of you all know, that value chain in a value chain, it basically covers a full life cycle of product from production stage to the consumption stage. So, everyone talks about that retail is important, or aggregation is important, marketing is important, but each and every step within the value chain is an important step, and we need to look at the to ensure an effective intervention. We need to cover each and every step of a value chain. Now, so now, so these are the common challenges that I feel that each and every value chain has. So primary intervention that any government organization or anyone who is into this sector is that we need to ensure better price relation for the farmer or collector. But in most of the cases or any areas or any commodities where interventions are required, the major first problem is the low price realization for the farmer. So usually the low farmer and for NTFP, I am using the term collectors because they collect NTFPs from forest. So now uh, the common attributes which in India, which are common across India is first which leads to low price realization is first is small holding, small land holdings. So if we talk about Western countries or even European countries, the farmers have lands in like 500 acres, 100, 150, 200, 600, 1000 acres, so 100, 1500 acres. That is the common land only. But in India, the average land holding is really small. Most of the small and medium farmers, they have a average land holding below 2 hectare. So because of this smaller land holding, the scale is not much. Other part is while farmers some of the farmers are aware about the good agricultural practices, but the traditional farming methods are still common across India. For example, excessive use of fertilizer, uh, uh, non-efficient use of water, all these things actually leads to problem of resource efficiency and escalate cost. Because of this, increasing cost of fertilizer, input cost like seed and everything, cost of production is intermittently increasing, and yield in because of the land holding and not many farmers are on an average, there is always an information gap, and in many cases farmers are not aware about the agricultural practices, basic good agricultural practices. The yield, average yield of many commodities is still low. So all these factor, and then let's say quite a few farmers uh, are engaged in good production practices, but then there is an issue of harvesting practices and post-harvest infrastructure. So so post-harvest infrastructure becomes another issue. It does not only include storage infrastructure, but if we talk about perishables, uh, uh, we need to do some packaging or other infrastructure where the product can be graded and sold. So especially for horticulture produce, cold chain is an important area that is not there. So and this at this stage, especially the harvesting stage, the farm wastage or wastages is always there. So we need to take up appropriate interventions that helps in reducing the wastages. Now, because of the small holding, low yield, and inadequate techniques, in many cases, scale, the major issue is always scale, because of which the farmers, because if a farmer is a like small land holding of 2 hectare, let's say 3 hectare, 1.5 hectare, so they will be producing in tons, and mostly if you're talking about pulses, in some few quintals. Now, because of this, but any trader or any buyer or any processor, they require quantity in bulk, and it's not like 5 tons, 10 tons. Any exporter or any major player would, if he's trading from one area, they would on an average require a quantity that is equal to one truck load, which comes somewhere around 16 metric ton. So this kind of scale is not there in most of the individual farmers, because of which the intermediary like kuchias, the local traders play an important role in aggregation of produce. Apart from that, we have seen that most of the farm produce that is sold even in mandis and in areas, farmers do not grade the produce, and because of which there is a lack of the transparency in price. No, they and farmers themselves know it, but they are not getting the right price. I will cite some examples using which we will be talking in detail. Now, all these factors and low limited market linkages, all these factors, it forms a vicious circle, and because of which the price realization for the farmer remains poor in most of the cases. So lot more in government of India, NGOs or technical agencies, they are trying to basically uh, take up interventions that covers one, two, three, or almost these aspects. The problem is any scheme, it covers like one, two, three of these aspects of a value chain. It does not cover the entire value chain, because of which while they, for example, yield. So initiatives like National Food Security Mission and other, they talk about an increasing yield, increasing production, but then other aspects like aggregation, market linkages, storage, post-harvest infrastructure gets ignored. But there are schemes. Then there are other schemes which only target infrastructure. For example, building godowns, warehouses, but other aspects are ignored. Because of which the impact that is desired through these schemes is not to the level that government expect. So that is why all these issues forms a vicious circle, and that which impacts the price realization. And any intervention or any project that anyone wants to design have to look at all these aspects in totality to have an impact. Now, as I was talking about, these were the common challenges or attribute. Now, among the value chains I talked about, like agriculture, horticulture, dairy, and forest produce, there is slight difference, and that this slight difference uh, impact the way the interventions needs to be designed for different value chains. For example, in agriculture value chain, the seasonality, there are only three cropping seasons. Okay, Kharif, Rabi, and Zaid. So by the end of season, the produce, be it paddy, be it wheat, it comes in bulk, or it comes in a huge quantity, and that the harvesting season becomes the trading season. Whereas in horticulture, it depends on the species of fruits that we are talking about. Guava grows in a different season. Mango grows in a different season. Vegetables like tomato, potato, they have their own seasons. And if you are using poly houses, then you can grow vegetables throughout the season. So still, the horticulture is also an important seasonal activity, whereas dairy, if your cow is pregnant and his cow has given birth, so and the intervention require daily interventions. Okay, because anyone who is working in the dairy sector, they want to collect milk daily from multiple villages. So in case of agriculture or horticulture, usually a group of 10, 15 farmers or 5 farmers, 20 farmers can give you an adequate quantity. But in case of dairy, while the overall annual production is huge by say single farmer, uh, each and every farmer on an average contribute to 5, 10, 15 liters of milk. So they have to develop, or in case of dairy, they have to develop an aggregation infrastructure or chilling, which in forms of chilling infrastructure like BMCs or chilling centers. So all and in dairy, which is not the case for horticulture or agriculture, they also define a route. So a team of individuals collects milk on a fixed time on a route from the farmers, and then they move from one village to another village. So daily this cycle continues in case of dairy, and even in dairy the collection time is also in morning and evening. So the transportation cost and all these overheads are slightly higher in dairy sector. Now in forest, it is also depends on the season. There are multiple NTFPs like Mahua, Harra, Bahira, you name it, Avla, the hundreds of commodities, and they also have their seasons. Now storage, agriculture produce like paddy or wheat, it can be stored for a long term, provided you store it in hygienic condition. While horticulture produce is perishable, so you cannot store it for months. Uh, may, oh, there are exceptions like potato and onion, but potato even you need cold storage. So, so the important aspect of horticulture produce, you need to dispose it quickly. Whereas in case of agriculture, you can store it for some time. Now, dairy, you cannot keep milk for more than 1 or 2 days. Okay, you need to sell it in the market, so it is highly perishable. So the interventions need to be designed accordingly. And similar in case of forest products produce, there are some produce that can be stored for a longer time, while there are other which are more perishable. Now, so perishability and storage is similar, because the produce which has high perishability will need cold chain infrastructure, river vehicle or transportation things. Whereas most of the agriculture produce do not require perishable cold chain infrastructure. Now volume.
Agriculture during a season, usually the volume of agriculture produce is extremely high, uh, and the march so that the traders or intermediary they play at low margin because scale is extremely high. Similarly, in case of horticulture, the volume during season is high, so intermediary, especially the primary traders or commission agents who collect and transport it, they work on relatively smaller margins. Dairy, the value chains are so small right now, especially the cooperative model or emergence of Amul in dairy sector, the margins are also low. For not for the not for the producer, but for the intermediary and even the processors. However, in case of forest produce products, the margin for processor is significantly high, but it depends from it varies from one product to another product. For example, if you look at honey, so you can see the retail price of honey varies from 400 rupees to 1200 rupees. But the scale, since the scale is low, the and the product is scarce, they have to play on a slightly higher margins. Now, price realization is something which in you need to, if you look at the value chain, you need to see what is the primary producer getting and what is the end consumer is spending to get that produce. So in case of agriculture, the difference between farm gate agriculture produce like wheat or paddy, there is significant not a significant difference between farm gate price and consumer price. For paddy, for products like basmati, there can be a variation, but in general, difference in farm between the farm gate price and the consumer price is not uh, really high. But when we talk about products like mustard or oil seeds, so so uh, it requires processing, and then there is a out ton ratio, because like three, if you are processing 3 kg of mustard, then only you will get one uh, a liter of oil. So all these factors plays an important. Still, the margins are extremely low because of the scale. Similarly, this is the case in horticulture. But in case of horticulture, the wastages in between is higher than the agricultural produce. So, because of the wastages and extra costs involved in cold chain and transportation, thus the difference between farm gate price and consumer price is relatively high. It is always higher than the agricultural produce, but not extremely high. But in case of dairy, usually, if especially in case of where there are cooperatives operating, the price relation for farmers or producer is really good. For example, Amul, it gives around 80% of the MRP to the collectors. But and on in other standard cooperatives, they spend at least 70 to 75% to the collectors. So the margins in between, like cost of transportation, cost on chilling center, operating cost of chilling center, processing cost, retailing cost, all these things are in, like 20%, in those 15-20%. These players have to adjust. So dairy is among all these, and dairy is the most competitive market. And price relation for forest products, it varies a lot. There is a no. I cannot say ki, but usually there is the difference is higher. No, what you the money that a forest producer or forest dependent community gets in selling it to a local trader or kuchia, and the money that a consumer spend, there is usually a significant difference between both. uh, Now all these factors, price relation, volume, perishability, depends on the availability. So agriculture is abundant, horticulture is also there is a increase in area of horticulture products, so availability is increasing. The cost of production is also much higher in horticulture, and also the yield is high, but still it is an expensive intervention. Dairy, India is the top producer of milk in the world, so milk is relatively abundant in most of the area, but forest produce is scarce. So because of this scarcity, the price realization and the willingness of consumer to pay is high in case of forest products. Now, I have spent enough time on exploring the differences, and I will this now I will discuss on how which are the areas that drives basically cost. So let me take an example. Let's say in case of wheat, uh, you buy wheat. A farmer spends some money, let's say 115,000 per acre in cost of production. Then it will spend another 5,000, 3,000 in harvesting. Then if he wants to sell it in bags, or so there is a cost on packaging involved. So then storage. So there are farmers who would like to store their produce in warehouses, or even the intermediary, when they purchase the produce, then they put it in the storage. So there is the cost involved. In case of horticulture produce, they will be putting it in cold chain infrastructure, so that will incur higher cost. Now transportation. So if there are multiple intermediary involved in the value chain, so from the farm gate to a trader, from a trader to a wholesaler, or a major trader or a processor, from processor to wholesaler, wholesaler to the retailer, and retailer to consumer. So in all these transactions, transportation is always involved. So these costs, this always escalate the overall cost. Now, mandi says there are a lot of commodities that incur mandi says. There are commodities like mustard that incurs GST. So all these factors also play an important role in overall cost. Now, if we are taking looking at produce like oils and even dals, so they or dal or even rice, so there are always processing cost involved. Now, in between, there are intermediaries like trader, distributor, wholesaler, and retailer. Now, usually, when anyone look at the cost, the cost are cost how the costs are defined. That is the most important question. So these costs usually, especially I will talk about mustard or thing oil seeds. Uh, the retail price at which an oil, a processed oil, is being sold, the overall cost that a company is willing to purchase, uh, or the oil seeds that the company is willing to purchase, it is determined by the price at which the oil is being sold. And the oil that is being sold, the price at which oil is being sold in the market is determined on the import prices, overall export prices, other factors like alternate oil like palm oil, penetration of, or the cost of all these things. So it's not that the trader or intermediary who are operating in the in the local mandis, they decide these costs. Usually the overall costs are decided by the major players who are involved in processing and selling. So because of and that, so if you look at this, there are multiple costs involved. For example, if you talk about oil seed, there is 5% GST involved. If you look at expensive mandis, there is 2.5% one range, mandi cess ranging from 1 to 2.5%. Then there is you also need to pay commission to the aggregators as well if you are purchasing in mandis. Uh, then processing cost, cost of production, outturn ratios, all these factors play an important role. Why? So because of all these cost and overheads, you will always find that the price that a farmer get for its produce and the price that a consumer pays for the produce is significantly different. So it's the to understand so this to understand the value chain, it might require an entirely new session, but it is not as simple as what we read in the newspaper and things. There are multiple cost heads involved, and we need to look at all these aspects before putting a blame on anyone or anything. uh, so now I see, in any discourse, the most maligned person that we talk about are always traders, distributors, or intermediary. Everyone talks that we need to eliminate the intermediary, and then if we do that, the profits of farmer will be higher. Okay, theoretically it's true, but lot of intermediary also play an extremely important role in the value chain. So if we look at the value chain players, key value chain players, there are a lot of value chain players: farmers, producers, collectors, aggregators, Kuchia, trader, commission agents, FPO, cooperatives. All these are aggregators. They play an important role in aggregating the produce. Then there are processors, distributors, and retailers. So distributor, wholesaler, and retailers, they are close to the are much closer to the customer, end customer, while processors, they can be in a state, but the distributor, wholesaler, and retailer may be in the same district or same city, but processors can be will be in the state where the produce, mostly in cases where the produce is being produced. Now, when we talk about these allusion pair, I will focus on the role of intermediary, because uh, as we will be talking about aggregation and grading in this particular session, this is the primary role. Aggregation and grading is the primary role of the aggregator in the value chain. So these are the local trader whom we call kuchiyas, or large, slightly higher traders who operate in mandis, who traders who also process the produce, who also act as commission agent as well. And then to circumvent all these or surpass all this, or to provide the farmers a better alternative, government of India and all a lot of people, we are focusing on developing farmer producer organization. And cooperative model, as you always know, it is has always been there, and it has been successful, especially in case of milk federation. So these all these the common role of all these players or aggregators is to aggregate the produce, so it can to get an appropriate scale, because without scale you cannot trade with a processor or even a major player, because any player would want a scale, because if they are getting a good quality produce in scale, their other overhead costs, like transportation, labor, loading, unloading, all these things get eliminated, and they need to put on a lesser effort. So that is why that is where that is where these middlemen or intermediary play an important role. Now, usually an intermediary plays these roles like aggregation of the produce. They also do grading of the produce at their level. Some of them also undertake primary processing, for example, dal and things like that. And most important role is a lot of them provide credit support. Now, I would say they also take undue advantage of providing credit support as well, because if they give loans to a farmer, and then they purchase the usually purchase the commodity or produce at a much lower rate than the average market rate. So that is where that is where government has tried to take up interventions in form of kisan credit card and other things. But still, their major or most important role is credit support. And most important thing is they provide cash to the farmers. A lot of farmers and producers, they need immediate cash. So for the want of immediate money, they usually they are happy to sell their produce at a slightly lower price. So and a lot of these intermediary, they also sell inputs to the farmer in form of fertilizers or things, uh, transportation, packaging. All these interventions are usually undertaken by the intermediary, and these are some of the aspects that escalate the cost. Usually the margins are low, but cases where intermediary are providing loans to the farmer, they make up for it by uh, purchasing the produce at a much lower cost. So now all these aspects are important, but if we look, so this is where This is where a role of aggregation and grading comes. That is where the role of FPOs and cooperatives come. And uh, uh, basically, if we undertake aggregation and grading in at a village level or at an FPO level, so the scale, you get the right scale. If you have the right scale and right quality of produce, then you can negotiate the price better. Third part is it leads to optimization of transportation labor cost. And if you are also undertaking grading, especially, then there is a better transparency. Now, in case of milk in a milk value chain, the end producer like the cooperatives or Amul, they operate chilling center of their, they play the role of even the middleman as well, because the margins in the dairy sector are low, so they work from the beginning, from providing the input support to the farmers in form of oil cakes to aggregation at chilling center, operating chilling centers, to introducing technology, to providing not to from collecting samples, aggregation, and things like that. So they play they in a matured value chain like milk, they play uh, uh, they have to take up interventions at each and every level of value chain to improve their margins. Otherwise, they will be operating on a very thin margin, and the business will not be profitable. Because and grading, grading, I will discuss about grading a lot in next slide, by taking example of like mango and even mahua. So how grading can help in better price relation. So these are the aspects, that is where, if we took up aggregation grading and also do some marketing intervention, we can at a level we can help in eliminating some of the intermediaries. Okay, and we can achieve right scale, so an end producer or processor would be willing to buy the produce from us. So that is where aggregation plays an important role. And grading, if you talk to any producer or any processor, they will always have quality parameters. Okay, they will always, and for good quality produce they will be paying good prices, and most of the time they reject uh, the produce which is not up to the mark. So the loss from those transactions and things like that, these are usually borne by the intermediary themselves, and they are indirectly transferred to the producers, because they are purchased. Usually they account for these margins and losses in the transaction, and that so when they make transactions with the farmers, they usually put the price by accounting for the future losses as well. So it is a complex system, and we need to ensure, look at all the aspects when we design any interventions on the value chain. Now, uh, as I was talking about, especially in case of milk, as any value chain matures, the farmer or producer starts to get better prices. However, the end producers, they have to invest on each and every aspect of the value chain. So they otherwise they will not be able to make the right profit. Best example for this is milk or dairy value chain. Now I will be discussing examples here, but before that, if there are any questions, I would like to take up those.
Mr. Madhya will take the questions at the end.
Okay.
So we
Now,
have, sorry to interrupt, it's 5:35 p.m. How long it may take for you to complete?
it's so these are some examples of the value chain. Right now, what is the time?
5:35.
35.
35. Yeah.
35. Okay, so I can take questions. This is I can use the examples of the value chains
You can
in response.
take another 5 minutes if you wish.
Okay, so
Yeah.
let's so to highlight the importance of grading, I will start with mango. Mango, everyone knows that UP is one of the state where the sherry of really high quality is produce. But in UP, most of the producers or orchard owner, they give the plants or they give the orchard to the aggregator or kuchia on lease. So what happens is the kuchia or aggregator provides a lump sum amount of, like, let's say 1 lakh, 1.5 lakh per hectare or per acre, and then they take up the entire operation from harvesting to things like that. So to what happens, these aggregators or these kuchias, they don't spend a lot of time on in grading the produce. So usually they employ a labor for 1 day or 2 day and harvest the entire produce. And the plants also get damaged, and the harvesting is not sustainable. Also, the because of the poor harvesting practices, the impact on the produce is also high. So overall, the margins or the price that a farmer could have got, or even the aggregator who is spending money would have got, is relatively low. Whereas in Maharashtra, especially in Ratnagiri area, I have spoken to quite a few distributors, especially where Alfonso is being grown. So what is happening is they are harvesting the orchards periodically. So they look at the produce, whether it is mature fruit, whether it is mature or not, and they are only plucking the mature fruits. So while the time is increases, the cost of labor also increases. The price relation they are getting is really good, because in Alfonso they are, they are collecting export quality mangoes. So for export quality mango, you also need to have that some leaf and twig with the mango to and all. There are a lot of parameters involved. So the price relation, the price that the farmers are getting in doing this kind of sustainable harvesting is better. Whereas in Uttar Pradesh, it is not the case, because one reason is they are outsourcing the work. Second reason is they are not looking at not employing the right harvesting practices. Another example, like I was talking about, saying that, like, in the value chain, you need to take up interventions from end to end, from production stage to harvesting stage, and even to marketing stage. So in case of guava in Uttar Pradesh, uh, uh, most of the guava orchards in areas like Badaयूं and all, they 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 face diseases like soil-borne diseases like forasem wilt, and despite the knowledge about of using trichoderma and things like that, still a lot of orchid owners are not employing it, and the overall life cycle of the because of the infestation or diseases, the overall life cycle of the orchids reduce. Usually, it's an orchid should yield uh, uh, for at least guava orchid at 15 to 20 years, but in Badaयूं and all these areas, the orchids are dying in an early death because of the disease infestation, 11 to 12 years. So if everyone knows that in any horticulture produce, the the as the orchid ages or during the time of maturity, the income or yield is highest. So when the orchids are supposed to provide the highest yield, 11, 12, 13, 14 years, they are they are dying because of the disease. So the farmers are not getting the right value for their investment, because usually it should ideally last for 15 to 20 years, but it is not doing so. And you in an entire cycle of 5 6 years where you would have got the best yield is getting lost because of that. So important interventions for related to good agriculture practices, putting the right fertilizer, right inputs is also important before taking up in interventions. Milk, I will not talk about, because dairy, if there is a time permit, I will talk about milk. Now, NTFP, usually, and because we have taken up this project right now, in Mahua, usually we have, if you employ simple interventions like sustainable harvesting practices like nets and all, and with appropriate measures like organic certification, you can get a much better price for species like mahua. For example, right now we have the minimum support price for mahua is 35 rupees. We have sold mahua that we have collected from on mahua nets at 100 rupees, and we have exported this mahua in Europe. And the quantity is not small; it is more than 60 metric tons. So these small interventions have helped in improving the price realization for the collector. The harra is of the similar story. If you dry it properly, you collect it at the right time, and then you aggregate it. The price realization will even if you sell it to the local traders, you can easily get more than 20 to 25% better price for harra. So I could have spoken in detail on this value chain, but since the time is less, I will take questions now. Thanks.
Okay.
Hmm.
So I'll now take up some questions. So the first question is, how does proper grading of agricultural products enhance their market value and consumer appeal?
Okay. Uh, Grading, if you look at quality parameters, just check APEDA website or AgMark site. So each and every so agriculture produce usually comes into multiple grade. Okay, so if on the basis of quality, usually what happens that the traders that which who purchase from the farmers, usually most of the produce, if it is properly harvested or good product, quality produce, it contains like 70-80% of good quality material, and 20-30% of average quality, and 10% poor quality. But if you grade it accordingly, you can sell the good produce at least 10 to 20% better prices, at a better price margin than the average quality produce. But what happens is when the transaction happen in the markets or mandis, they look at the complete produce, and the traders, they in auction, they always put up a relatively lower price, or price which is close to the average. So the farmer will always be at loss if it is not grading properly. Let me take example of mustard. So in if anyone is there in so usually they do testing of the mustard, and on the basis of the oil content, the prices are determined. Okay, so in mandis where the prices are being determined so I have seen this happening in UP 3 years back. So in mandis where the oil content was being tested, the average price for mustard was at least 100 rupees higher than per quintal was at least 100 rupees higher than the mandis where there was no testing or grading of the produce. So it always helps. If you are grading your produce, it always helps.
Okay. Yeah. So next question is, how can farmers benefit from implementing effective grading practices in their produce?
Uh, I think it's a great. Uh, it will give you better price realization and transparency in price. So right now, like if you talk to a farmers to a particular farmer who is selling it entire produce to a kuchia or a local trader at a farm gate, you will realize that they are getting a price which is at least 25 to 30% less than the average market price, because they are not grading it properly, they are not doing it properly. But if you look if you compare it with a farmer who is grading the produce after harvesting, especially in case of horticulture products, especially in case of horticulture products,
the overall price realization will always be high. Because if I take example of horticulture produce, the top quality produce is always sold in market as a table variety. The worst quality or not so good quality produce is used in processing, but the best quality produce is what we purchase for our direct consumption. So it always gives you a better price. But so what happens is, if you are grading it appropriately, you can get higher price for the better quality produce, while you can sell the not so good quality produce to the processor at a minimal or the below average price.
Okay. And next question is,
Put in mango, potato, custard apple, the story is same everywhere. So this is the first intervention, and any if we take do anything, this is the first intervention that we do: aggregation and grading of the produce in any value chain to improve profitability.
okay. Next question, explain the significance of effective marketing strategies in promoting agriculture products to diverse consumer segments.
Marketing strategy. Uh, okay. So in case of agriculture produce, let's take example of wheat. Uh, so you must have seen that in if anyone is from Delhi or any area, so you might have seen that in Delhi you will see shops who sell produce that it MP's the wheat is from Madhya Pradesh, or the wheat is, we are selling Sharbati wheat from Madhya Pradesh. So and so the price of the produce or the atta or wheat is always higher if it is from Madhya Pradesh, and if it is Sharbati, then and then average atta that is not banded accordingly or things like that. So so there are two aspects. First is how you are branding it. Second is how you are second is how you are linking it to the market. So these are the two things that we need to look at. So first is, if for example, if it is you are saying that you have put in limited fertilizer or inputs, as we did for Mahua, because it's an organic produce, and we then branded it to the food grade produce, and then obtain an organic certification. So it immediately became an export quality produce with proper testing, and then we got the value of almost three times the value that we usually would have got. But in case of agriculture, it is slightly different, slightly difficult. So important part is you aggregate the produce, grade it, look at the quality. You should have a better appropriate testing mechanism so in place, or you should test your produce in the right labs to get the quality specification. If you do it, and you are aggregating in the produce and then selling it to a buyer which is not a local trader, which deals in bulk produce, then you can easily get around 10 to 15% higher price. I'm not talking about the overall turnover, but 10 to 15% price. But it you need to have test the quality testing taken up, and you need to have a surety of, or you need to identify the bulk buyer. For example, instead of selling it to a local trader, you can sell it to a processor like Sanur. If you are dealing with mustard, you can target Saloni oil mills, or for Adani, or if you are dealing with wheat, so you can directly sell to market where ITC is purchasing the produce. So that is what, nothing else. So by marketing, we only mean market linkages in case of general agriculture produce. But if you have something that is endemic to your area, or GI tags, or a quality of rice like different kinds of basmati, then you can brand your product appropriately and sell it like MP's Sharbati wheat. So then you can brand it appropriately and sell it. Otherwise, no, only two aspects are needed: aggregation and testing, nothing else.
Okay. And what is the impact of digital marketing on connecting farmers directly with consumers and its potential benefits?
Yes, it is, because everyone must have seen Enam, or farmers can also directly sell their produce. Farmer can do the packing, grading, and cleaning themselves at their farm, and they can sell the produce to a consumer at a price, a retail price, or a slightly lower price. So digital marketing always helps, but the only problem is, in case of bulk trade, or in case of these things, you need to see whether there is a quality assurance, because I can show, if I am a seller, I can show a good quality, take a photograph of good quality wheat which is not mine, and post it online, and then a buyer can purchase it. But if he is not getting the right quality, then there is a issue. So for that, usually recognized platforms are, which provide testing facility and things like that, are usually used for these kind of interventions. Like on NEML auction took place, on Enam auctions took place, on multiple other websites auctions took place. Like in Karnataka, they have their own mandi systems. So because the quality you need to see, you need to ensure that the quality that the seller is telling you that he should sell you the right produce. No, you cannot take a photograph of something and then sell something, or report of something and sell something different. It actually helps in better price relation, but there are difficulties, especially in terms of transparency, how we can assure the quality, things like that, in
Okay.
digital marketing. It's not perfect yet.
Okay. Can you provide examples of innovative marketing campaigns that have positively influenced farmers' income?
Marketing, uh,
Campaigns.
marketing campaigns, ये मिल्क के हुए, अंडा का, एग का, it's not of farmer, but no, it's part of animal husbandry activity. So poultry जो campaign चला था, रोज खाओ संडे हो या मंडे, रोज खाओ अंडे, it helped in increasing, uh, uh, egg demand for egg. Then millets, for example, this is International Year of Millets, so you can see the average price for millets have increased. The information about millets is increasing. You see, in the, some brands, important brands like Organic India, they are promoting you purchase of millets and things like that. That helps in improving price realization at the, or increasing demand, that in terms helps in increasing the price realization for the farmers. But we are not sure whether that is effectively leading to improving income for the farmer. But one of the better example, which is not exactly marketing, but is of aggregation and then selling of produce, is ITC, e-Chopal. So I would urge everyone to read e-Chopal case studies. They have done really well. ITC has done really well, uh, especially in this part. So they have marketed their produce. They have done aggregation. They have done things. They have surpassed the mandi system by providing taxes, but trading, developing centers. They have taken up interventions from credit to grading to testing, everything in their e-Chopal centers. So e-Chopal is a good case study if you want to see how an end-to-end intervention can help in improving income for farmer. Second best example is Amul. Amul provides 80% of the margins to the farmer, or the dairy farmers, and because of Amul, all the other cooperatives are also are forced to provide better prices to the collectors, because So the overall market of especially the milk market or dairy market has become so competitive that they negotiate in paisas, you know, 10 paisas per if someone is giving you 10 paisa per saturated fat content, then it will lead to higher income. So Amul, emergence of Amul, emergence of cooperative in milk, the way they have done marketing across world. You see any major event that happens, Amul will always come up with a quirky ad or quirky, cartoon. So Amul is another good example. Then Dawat is the basmati rice, but I am not sure whether they are transferring this income to the farmer. But Amul is definitely doing it to the collectors. ITC has definitely helped in improving the income to the income for the farmers. Next question. I
Yeah.
hope it answers the
Yeah.
question.
Yeah. So, yeah. What role do mechanized harvesting practices play in modernizing agriculture and increasing productivity?
Mechanized harvesting practices actually play an important role, especially in reducing the wastages. Uh, uh, but also it reduce cost because cost of labor is also increasing, and usually the machines are the cost of machinery is high. So what is happening in lot of villages? The government of India and NGOs are developing custom hiring centers. So where the machinery is purchased and then it is given on lease or hire or rent to people, rent to farmers or people. So it improves, and most important thing, it is very fast. So if you are using machinery, the overall time taken for intervention is, reduces by significant amount. And if you are doing manual labor and using machinery, thus the difference is huge.
Okay. Now we have the last
But
question.
but but having said that, as single farmers, I would not advise farmers to purchase some of these machineries initially, unless they have large land holding. I would say better go for a custom hiding center and rent it, because the overall cost of these machinery is high.
Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah. How can agri startups offer innovative solutions to improve harvesting efficiency and reduce labor demands?
Can you repeat the question?
How can agri startups
Uh,
offer innovative solutions to improve
uh,
harvesting efficiency and reduce labor demands?
yeah, so really good question. So harvesting efficiency, though there are good startups who usually most of the startups that have come up, they are first doing, training of FPO capacity building things and all this. So startups like Dehat, you must have heard about Dehat. If not, then please check it. So they are providing end-to-end services to farmers. Okay, so harvesting practices in so they can help in since the farmers is purchasing product from them, the the startups are also providing them advisories. So as part of the advisories, they can do some provide some advisory on harvesting practices. Okay, but having said that, if if they are willing to also procure the the product, agriculture product, graded product according to the price, then it will be effective. So for example, if any if the farmers know that there is an exporter who is willing to buy produce, then only they will grade the produce. Otherwise they will not put up any effort in grading the produce. So harvester can provide, any startup can provide, information on harvesting practices, grading during harvesting, right harvesting practices. But they should also help in providing the right price relation for the farmers for the intervention to be effective. Otherwise, farmers, why will they increase their cost, overall cost?
Okay.
Hmm.
Okay, Mr. Mradul, I don't see any more questions from our participants. So now we have come to end of question round. On behalf of agricultureinformation.com, we like to thank you for the detailed presentation and answering all the questions in depth. And we also like to thank all the participants for joining this meeting. The meeting will now be closed. Have a good and safe weekend.
Okay. Thanks a lot. Thanks.
You're most welcome. Thank you.